They didn't want to face my Seahawks on American soil, so they chickened off to Germany and Rashad White.
I was trying to, I was trying to think. I was going to say something like in German, and I don't. What's a good German phrase? Like I was gonna, like cheerio, and oh, guten Tag.
Yes, guten Tag.
Guten Tag.
Rashad.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, there you go. Guten Tag, Rashad White.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Tom Brady needs to learn how to curse in German.
Well, yeah, I think given his kind of general demeanor this year, he'd be very open to learning that.
Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry, served by Applebee's.
All right, welcome to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry. I am Jay Crouch. We are joined by Lawrence Jackson at Lord Don't Lose. Guten Tag, Lawrence. Guten Tag.
Guten Tag,
Lawrence. Wie geht's? Yeah. Congratulations yesterday if you took the over 0.5 on Guten Tags. You would have cashed going away.
1,000%. He's always repping Atlanta, Lawrence.
Yeah, always repping Atlanta.
Then I got to roll with him then.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, repping the Atlanta Hawks. Not going to be much Trae Young chat today, but it's looking up for the Atlanta Hawks. Looking up for the Atlanta Falcons as well. Yeah, he's beat the Bucks.
That's
covered.
a different story.
Yeah. All right, we got a lot.
Show.
Yeah. We got a lot to get through today, gentlemen. So let's jump straight into it. Roto World headlines.
Oh, okay.
And where we have to start naturally is in Buffalo. The big news of the past 24 hours. Josh Allen. He's got this elbow injury, UCL sprain. He's been limited in practice. He's no sure thing to play against the Vikings. The betting market on BetMGM, they don't think he's going to play, or if he does, he'll be limited. The line has gone from -7.5 now down to -4.5 and still falling. So what are we doing from a fantasy perspective?
I want to ask about that real quickly.
Sure.
So that's what the betting market thinks. But if you think Josh Allen can play, are you better off taking the Bills right now with that line, just saying like, hey, the market's hedging a little bit.
Yeah.
Like because you used to set the lines. You did that for 5 years at a major casino. Is this one of these things where you know he's not playing, or you're just like, the public might think he's not playing, so I'm trying to hedge it a little bit to get more people to take the other side?
Yeah, it's a tough one because if he was definitely out, then I think the line would be Bills -1.5. Bills -1.5, -2 with Case Keenum. So the market is, like you said, it's hedging its bets. So if you think that Allen is going to play and be basically, he did throw it 69 yards in the air after he sprained his UCL, so maybe he's just fine. And also, Case Keenum can absolutely win that game. Case Keenum is basically as good as it gets as a backup quarterback in the NFL, professional quarterback.
Revenge game against Minnesota. # revenge game.
Yes. Right. I think yesterday when we spoke about it, when the line was still 6.5, I think the Vikings were a no-brainer at that point. But now I wouldn't be too optimistic taking the Vikings +4.
I will tell you that I picked up Case Keenum in a decent amount of leagues, and I have Josh Allen in a couple leagues, so I picked him up in obviously the leagues where I have Josh Allen. But I don't know. I feel like he plays in this one, Lawrence, or like it just. I don't know. This is a game they need. It's a game they need. And Josh Allen is one of those like, I'm tough. Like this is a guy that runs in the middle. He's a cyborg. He's a cyborg. Yeah. I guess I'm not panicking yet. Am I crazy, Lawrence?
No, I was just about to say how that line is moving. I'm thinking in my head like, man, this dude playing. This dude 6'5", 245. He's the big back. He said it plenty of times. You know what I'm saying? So right now, I'm taking that line where it is. Like until we have something concrete, and it's looking like if he's limited, a guy like him, he's going to play. I saw it on TV the other day. They said the Jets took advantage of his best trait, but it was weak for him that time was his toughness, his mental and physical toughness. So I bet on him playing.
I'm going. I don't know why, but like it's stupid to try to interpret a one-word tweet. But the Stephon Diggs tweet, rejoice from yesterday. What's Stephon Diggs rejoicing about, right?
This is the fun of fantasy and betting, trying to really analyze those little things. Maybe he's rejoicing he's not out for the season.
It could mean because long term too. That's something to rejoice about too for all of us because we definitely need Josh Allen in the league.
Exactly.
Matthew,
don't. Like you already took Breece Hall from us, fantasy gods. Don't take Josh Allen.
No.
They took Javonte Williams. Like don't take Josh Allen from his coach. Sean McDermott, by the way, says he's day to day. To quote Keith Olbermann, we're all day to day.
Matthew, what are we doing with Bills fantasy guys? Are we starting? We're obviously starting Stephon Diggs. I think you still have to start Gabe Davis. What are you doing with the team?
Yeah, and I think also, Devin Singletary, although, Singletary comes in a little bit lower for me in my ranks this week. It'll be interesting to see how much Nyheim Hines gets. Normally in a matchup, like this, where we expect it to be competitive, Singletary's been really good in most games in which the Bills have been competitive. He'd be inside my top 20. He comes in at 23 in my initial ranks here. We'll see a little bit of Nyheim Hines. Also, by the way, the Vikings pretty good against the run. They're 4th against the run over the last month. The issue, of course, is that you can attack them on the edges. They're bottom 10 in the NFL in terms of most receptions and receiving yards allowed to opposing running backs, Singletary and Nyheim Hines. By the way, especially if Allen can't chuck it, 60 yards, you could see more dump offs here. But I agree with you. You're obviously starting Stephon Diggs, regardless of who the quarterback is. I think you still have to start Gabe Davis. We've talked about it. He is Mike Williams East. You cannot try to get cute and pick, spots. You're either starting him every week or you're never starting him. So I'm starting Gabe Davis if I have him on my team. And then, I'm in on Devin Singletary as a high-end flex this week.
For sure. To your point about Gabe Davis, I've actually wrote about him in my Flex Play article this week. I have Gabe Davis in it, even with Case Keenum, because, don't sleep on Case Keenum. I wouldn't sleep on him.
No, Case Keenum, again, I've said this before, and I say this in a respectful way. He's a professional quarterback. He's not exciting. He's not. But can he run an offense? Can he make plays? Case Keenum's fine.
Yeah.
There are much worse backup quarterbacks in the NFL. There are much worse starting quarterbacks in the NFL.
You better believe it.
Than Case Keenum.
Case Keenum was in an NFC title game.
That's right.
Not that long ago.
And they dumped him. No. So he's trying to ball against them.
Exactly. That's exactly right. I'm telling you, #revenge game against the Minnesota Vikings. You like that? Case Keenum, by the way, if he gets the start and he wins, he should absolutely go shirtless with gold chains afterwards, just making fun of Kirk Cousins. By the way, I don't know if you noticed what Lawrence did right there. Lawrence just mentioned his article just in casual conversation.
You got to do
already
it.
1,000%.
You just slide it on in there.
1,000%. You're fitting into the show immediately. Well done, Lawrence.
Yeah. Josh Allen, he's not practicing today as well. That's just come in.
Okay,
so
but it's
a
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
I think the biggest takeaway here is it's obviously a massive story that we'll continue to track throughout the week. Mm-hmm. If you have Josh Allen, only Josh Allen, have a contingency plan, whether it is picking up Case Keenum or somebody else on your waiver wire. Just have a contingency plan. Just be aware that there's a possibility Josh Allen could miss this week.
Yep, and if Josh Allen even if he's limited, you're obviously starting Josh Allen no matter what happens.
If Josh Allen's active for the Bills, he's active for you.
Yep. Okay, let's move to Tampa Bay. Let's move to Germany, where the Athletic's Greg Allman has written that the momentum will likely be with Rachaad White at the end of the season in Tampa's backfield. Hasn't been a great year to date for Leonard Fournette. Lawrence, any concerns about starting Leonard Fournette in Munich?
So this week, I would say nah, because the Seahawks are the 8th worst team versus running backs in fantasy thus far. But, there's always a but. Rachaad White is closing that gap, man. As you can see it right there, the snap percentage doesn't look, that much in Rachaad White's favor. But if you look at the touches, and especially the touches recently, he's starting to get closer. And if the Bucs are not lighting it up on offense, then why not integrate, Rachaad White just a little bit more, you know what I'm saying?
I think I agree with you, Lawrence, in this. So, are you starting Leonard Fournette? You're starting Leonard Fournette.
Yes, indeed.
I am ranked 14th. But is there cause for concern? Of course there is. He's had 3 straight games with under 10 rushers. He's had 3 straight games with fewer than 25 rushing yards, and the Seahawks defense has played better as of recently. Yep. I mean, we talked about this yesterday. For whatever reason, the Seahawks, with a winning record, are underdogs to the 3 and 5? The
4 and 5 now.
4 and 5 Tampa Bay. Sorry, the 4 and 5 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I would give me the Seahawks money line here.
Yep.
And
don't mess around with points.
Definitely betting with I would easily bet them with the points as well at BetMGM, promo code Barry. Just so you know, I'm pulling a Lawrence right here. In there,
pulling an LJ.
Right, exactly. But we've said this throughout the year. Rachaad White needs to be rostered in every league. Every week, he's getting more and more trust with Tom Brady. Every week, he's getting more and more touches. I don't think if you have Tom Brady as your quarterback, I don't think you're ever shutting it down and playing for next year, especially in that division. that they'll be able to as bad as that division is,
they'll be
place. Right. I mean, exactly. They're awful, but they're in first place. I mean, so but still, Fournette, who's had injury issues in his career, if anything were to happen to him, Rachaad White would be interesting. And as they're trying to find different ways to get this offense going, Rachaad White is a younger player who gives them a bit of a spark.
Yep, no, I'm with you there. Let's go to Dallas, where chief trainer, medical expert Jerry Jones has said that he expects Zeke Elliott, who I think that Jerry considers the most important player on the team, narrowly in front of Dak Prescott and Micah Parsons, expects him to play in Week 10 in Lambeau against the Packers, where the Cowboys are 5.5-point favorites against Aaron Rodgers. Matthew, Zeke and Pollard, are they both startable in Week 10 against a pretty bad Packers rushing defense?
I mean, that's the point, right? Over the last 4 weeks, the Green Bay Packers are 29th against the run, right?
Feels like overs. Feels like 30 seconds.
Exactly. They're a bottom 3 rush defense over the last month. And so Ezekiel Elliott, who's, believe it or not, averaging 16 fantasy points in his last 2 games. He's played over 60% of the snaps in 5 of the 7 games that he's played so far this year. I think both guys are viable. So, I think, Zeke I have at running back 15. I have Ezekiel Elliott. I actually have at 29, so I have them reversed. But, you'll see them come closer together. Zeke did practice today, so my ranks were done last night. Now that Zeke has practiced, you'll see Zeke move up more in my ranks, and maybe he'll be less limited here. He is touchdown dependent. Ezekiel Elliott is literally like, that should be his legal name, Ezekiel Elliott, touchdown dependent RB2. So I think you'll see more of an even split. But yeah, I mean, come hell or high water, Zeke is getting the ball in a good matchup because Jerry Jones wants him to.
Yep. Lawrence, what do you got here? Starting both of them against the Packers?
Yeah, got to. And I don't think Jerry thinks Zeke is the most important player right now. He thinks he's the most important player in Dallas Cowboys history.
Yes.
Now think about that.
Bye-bye Troy Aikman.
Yeah. So Tony Pollard here getting 13-plus touches in 4 of 6 games with Ezekiel Elliott. So you have to love that. Not only that, Tony Pollard just elevating his game anyway, you know what I'm saying? So they was never going to give him a full workload. He didn't get that the week without Zeke, but he went off, though. But that's what we expect of Tony Pollard. We expect Tony Pollard to be efficient, right? And we expect Zeke to steal away those goal line touchdowns. So, yeah, get them both in that flex spot.
3 different times this year, the Packers have allowed multiple running backs to get at least 75 yards from scrimmage. I think there's probably a pretty good chance Zeke gets into the end zone, as Lawrence says here. And I do think, Tony Pollard's good for a big play or two. In the 6 games that Ezekiel Elliott has played this year, Tony Pollard's had at least 13 touches in 4 of those 6 games here. And going off of what he did the last time we saw Tony Pollard, he's earned a bigger workload. I think this is going to be like a 1A, 1B thing going forward, especially with Zeke maybe less than 100%, and Pollard proving, what kind of a spark he gives here. But both guys are viable against Green Bay this week, no question.
Yep. All right, let's go to Pittsburgh, where friend of the show, Mike Florio, tweeted out that Jaylen Warren is likely to see more touches at the expense of Najee Harris. Lawrence, is Jaylen Warren, is he more of just an insurance back going forward, or can he take over this backfield?
Can he take it over? Yes, he can. Is it going to be this week? I don't think so, but he's going to get more involved. Mike Tomlin said it himself, called him a quality back who makes plays. Well, yeah, duh, we can all see that. Yards per carry, a big thing out here, especially in the fantasy world, and Jaylen Warren's getting 5.3 per carry to Najee Harris's 3.3. We don't love that. So this is the thing now. Najee Harris is already, along with Kyle Pitts, one of the top busts in fantasy this year. What's that going to be like when Warren gets even more involved? That's my thinking about it.
Yep. So we take a look at Najee Harris's game log past 5 games. I mean, these are very kind of seminal Najee Harris stats with getting the carries, getting the touches, but just not getting the efficiency, topping out at 74 yards on the ground. What are we doing in this backfield, Matthew?
I think you're probably still starting Najee Harris because you have to. I trust the reporting, that Florio is putting out there, and it's not a shock. Najee Harris has been bad. I mean, all the Trent Richardson 2.0 jokes, he's been bad. But there's nothing about this run game or this offense that makes you think well, if Jaylen Warren could just get 20 touches, he would explode in this thing. Like, he's looked better than Najee Harris in limited time, but again, the whole offense hasn't looked great. You don't love this matchup with the New Orleans Saints. I know Kenyon Drake just ran all over him, but
he didn't really though. Like, he got 24 carries for 93
yards. It was some bully yards.
Right.
Bully yards.
Some bully yards, and he gets into the end zone, and by the way, you have to defend the run against Baltimore with Lamar Jackson much differently than you have to defend it against Kenny Pickett and the Steelers. And so, when you have a guy like Lamar Jackson, it just opens up lanes because you're just so scared of him running for 40 yards. And so, I can't. I'm with Lawrence here. Like, I think Jaylen Warren should be rostered. I haven't looked at the roster trends on Yahoo yet, but I would suspect that Jaylen Warren was a very popular pickup. We talked about him yesterday on the show. Jay, he should be, but I can't imagine starting him this week.
Yeah, nah.
And so, like, Najee Harris, you're probably starting. You don't feel great about it, but, like, he comes in at running back 19 for me in this one just because who's most likely to score a touchdown in that backfield? It's probably Najee Harris. He's still probably likely to get 15 touches, and who knows, maybe. You never know with Tomlin, right? Is this legit, or is this just him floating that out there, like letting us hear? It's just like, just trying to hey Najee, we know you were a first-round pick from Alabama, but things are different. Like, let's go.
Kind of reminds me of the David Montgomery, Khalil Herbert situation to a lesser degree with Najee Harris in the David Montgomery role, where he is more of he's the number one guy, he's entrenched, he's getting the volume, but maybe ultimately Jaylen Warren is really the man you want to love.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh.
Maybe. We'll see. He definitely needs to be rostered, but it's one of those, like, let's wait and see. Like, I would want him on my roster, but I wouldn't want to start him this week. And certainly if you have Najee Harris, if you invested a late first round, early second rounder in Najee Harris, hopefully you've already had Jaylen Warren on your team.
And hopefully you've been drinking as well, because that's not
drinking on a hope
as well.
Dude, listen, and if you need an excuse to drink, watch a Steelers game.
Yeah. It's not pretty. All right, we're going to go to break. When we come back, keep it open or close it out, because we're at a bar. Continuing with the bar
that's
thing.
Right, we are. That's right. It's the happy hour show. We'll be back. Me, Jay, and Lawrence.
Market just loves the Las Vegas Raiders, who again did not cross midfield on offense until 3 minutes 15 left in the fourth quarter against the Saints. That's bad.
That's tough business there. Well, you got the Jaguars offense who have cooled off as of recent, but the Raiders have been cooled off since like week 2. You know what I'm saying? So give me Christian Kirk.
You got Josh McDaniels apologizing to fans.
Apologize. That's when you know it's getting out of hand.
Yeah.
But look, Christian Kirk's still the top receiver on this squad. I'm going to keep that open just a little bit.
All right, we are back with Keep It Open or Close It Out. Lawrence
Because you're at a bar.
Yeah.
You're at a bar, and, you've had a few, and it's in the evening. Hey, you going to keep this open, go one more round, or are you going to close it out?
Yes, just for this week, though. So, Lawrence, you're back here again. Less fluoro today, but we're still here with the Atlanta Hawks cap in place. Let's start with DeAndre Swift, who started the season incredibly. Didn't do much last week coming off the injury. Keeping it open or closing it out on DeAndre Swift against the Bears.
Where we drafted DeAndre Swift at and what we expected him to do, I'm closing it. I'm going to leave a good tip, but I'm closing it. If I got Jamal Williams ranked a little bit ahead of DeAndre Swift, I got to close it. If I'm expecting some top 5 type stuff, I got to close it out. That 5 touches last week, and more importantly, the 24 carries for 81 yards by Jamal Williams, that scared me. I guess DeAndre Swift got to get a little healthier. Look, you see it there. Even Justin Jackson was playing over DeAndre Swift last week, man. That is scary time right there. I got to close it, but like I said, the tip going to be good, baby.
Yeah, I'm concerned here. I think it sort of depends on your options, right? I mean, I'll just say I rank him at 25, right? I'm more with Lawrence than not. Like, it depends on sort of what you need. Like, he is as high risk, high reward volume as you get. Hopefully we get more knowledge about his health situation. But look, he in week 9, he played 16% of the snaps. His last 3 games combined, he's had 25 touches, averaging 9.9 fantasy points per game. He's had one game this entire year, where he's had more than 10 touches, and that was week 1. And so far this year, to Lawrence's point about Jamal Williams, DeAndre Swift has 2 touches inside the 10-yard line. He has 0 goal-to-go carries. So, like, when they get in close, it goes to Jamal Williams. So, Craig Reynolds got hurt in that game. But honestly, the truth of the matter is that he is a very risky flex. I would agree. I would say close it out if you have potentially a better option. Until we see the guy we drafted back out there. We just haven't seen it. You know what I mean? Like, he scored, 2 games ago because they got him on a quick slant. But it's like he still wasn't getting, like, so he didn't mind because he got the touchdown, but, like, he's not getting the usage.
Yeah, I think it's, like, if you went Mixon, Swift at the turn of your draft, Joe Mixon on bye this week, and I'm sure some people did that, then maybe you're starting DeAndre Swift, but if you can avoid it, you don't want him.
I have DeAndre Swift. I mean, I have Jamal Williams ranked higher than DeAndre Swift this year. And it's, it's a middle-of-the-pack matchup on the road at Chicago.
Yep. Okay, let's jump to Aaron Jones, who, if he was fully healthy, obviously you're naturally starting, but he did leave the game with the ankle against Detroit. Report has been from Adam Schefter that he should be able to play this week. X-ray results were negative. Keeping it open or closing it out?
Yeah, I'm keeping it out. I'm keeping it open, I should say. Keeping it open. Like, last week was just a bad game all around for the Packers offense, but you think about weeks 7 and 8, this guy was the 6th best running back in fantasy. He was averaging 24.2 fantasy points per game, 15 or more touches in 6 of the last 7 games. I mean, like, you're nervous about A.J. Dillon's workload, but I feel like if Aaron Jones is healthy enough to be out there, the Packers are one of the most conservative medical staffs in the NFL. So if Aaron Jones is active, he should be, good to go. I'm at running back 12 this week. Yeah, I'm keeping it open on Aaron Jones.
Right. This is going to be wide open for me. Like you said.
You're buying shots for everyone in the bar.
Everybody.
Like, you keep it open. Drinks on Lawrence.
Just a little something. I see, this is different from Swift and Jamal Williams because Aaron Jones is, at this point, he's all they got right now.
Yeah.
He is all they have. And like you mentioned, the 2 weeks prior to the Doug game, he was just starting to get back into his rhythm. So, and he even said he wanted to go back into the game. The Packers were just precautious about it. So if he plays, he's got to be in your lineups.
Yep. Let's jump to Raheem the Dream Mostert. I feel bad, Matthew, because he's a friend of the show.
Yeah.
And literally.
And let's just be clear about this, Jay Croucher. He was Raheem must start.
Yes.
He came on the show. You browbeat him. You browbeat him. You browbeat him.
Raheem Mostert's a pretty big guy. He can do what he wants.
You guilted him in. He was on TV. He was trying to be nice. You browbeat him and guilted him into agreeing that your not as good nickname, Raheem the Dream, was what he should go with. And I'm just saying, like, listen, I'm not saying it's cause and effect. I'm merely pointing out these 2 facts. That after he did the interview with us and you declared him Raheem the Dream, Jeff Wilson Jr. shows up and takes over that backfield.
Good point.
I'm just like, facts are facts. Like, all of that is a true statement. Is one the cause of the other? Who knows, Jay? Who's to say? Yeah. Some people are saying, not me, but some people are saying you are to blame for the decline in Raheem Mostert's fantasy value.
Now, listen here, Matthew Berry. It's your name on the show, and Raheem the Dream Mostert, he is going to remember that 15 minutes after he got off the Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry, they traded for a guy who is cutting his carries in half. Yeah. So,
really
Lawrence,
interesting.
We'll start with you. Are you keeping it open or closing it out on Raheem Mostert with Jeff Wilson in town? They play Cleveland this weekend.
I gotta keep that open.
Yes.
But it's like, I'm keeping it open for both of them. The offense is too explosive not to. With Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle out there opening everything up, and Tua, you saw it. They both saw a similar amount of touches. It was Jeff, and they both scored a touchdown. Jeff Wilson through the receiving game, and Raheem Mostert on the ground. It's just going to be like, if you have one or the other guy, you're just hoping that your guy is the one who scores. So I'll leave that open a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to leave it open as well. I just look I don't know what it is as of this morning, but it opened at 48.5. We think one of the higher scoring games on the slate. To Lawrence's point, it's just such an explosive offense. I want more of the Dolphins' offense, not less. Both of these guys, even though Jeff Wilson Jr. had more touches in this game, the fact of the matter is Raheem Mostert still had double-digit touches, still scored a touchdown last week against the Bears. And so, like, is he a top 20 guy? No, I have him at 24 this week. But is he a viable flex? He absolutely is. I'm going to keep it open on Raheem. Must start.
Yeah.
Not the dream.
Not the dream.
He's Raheem the Dream.
Because I don't know.
Maybe we should ask Raheem Mostert again what he likes.
He ain't come back on the show. Like,
we poisoned the well with Raheem Mostert.
Poor guy.
Yeah, I feel like we're contractually obligated, but in a good way, to be positive on Raheem Mostert because he's such a good guy and he did such a good interview
and he was on the
with
show.
us. Yeah, I agree on the Dolphins point. I think they're the best offense in the league, honestly. I would have them above Kansas City. I think they have a ceiling that, we saw how Kansas City struggled against the Titans to move the ball. I just think that the Dolphins are unstoppable. Let's go to a team that is less unstoppable, but has been a surprising offense, and that's the Atlanta Falcons, who play tomorrow night.
Lawrence's team.
Prime time.
Yeah, used to be my team. Then
Rise up.
Yeah, rise up Atlanta Falcons. Still very much in the mix for the magnificent NFC South. Let's talk Tyler Algier, Matthew.
What's a step below rise up? Like crawl up? Like,
stand down.
Stand down. Like
stand down.
Stand down, Arthur Smith. Throw the ball.
It's just not rise up. It's just sort of like creakily get up,
Yes.
Creakily higher, raise yourself. All right, so what are we doing with this running back situation here? And we'll start with, I think you're obviously starting Cordero Patterson here, but right, so CPAT comes back here. Lawrence, you watch this team very closely. What are we doing with Tyler Algier?
I can't start Tyler Algier this week. Now that Cordero Patterson is back, they got him back in there. He got the goal line touches at in week 9. He made do with that. Got the 2 touchdowns there. Now Tyler Algier did rush for 99 yards, but I don't know how many times I could expect him to have gains of 44 yards in a single game. Like, I don't expect that to continue. Cordero Patterson got back, and he was back like he never left. So I got to close it on my boy Tyler Algier, but I appreciate what you done while Patterson was away.
Yeah, 55% of his yards did come on 2 plays last week. So you look at the 99 yards or the over 100 yards from scrimmage, and you're like, that's pretty good. But, he had 2 big plays in this game. All that said, double-digit carries in 7 of 8 games played so far this year. You love the matchup against the Carolina Panthers, who are 24th against the run over the last 4 weeks. They're coming off of a short week in which they just gave up 5 touchdowns to a running back here.
So also, they couldn't run the ball at all until they got that matchup.
Until they got that matchup here. And so, again, what are they going to do? Let Marcus Mariota throw it? They don't want Cordero Patterson to have a full workload, whether it's because they're trying to manage his reps or because they just like a committee here. So I do think, let me put it this way. I'm with Lawrence in the grand scheme, which is ideally you're not starting Tyler Algier. Hopefully your season has gone better or that you're not in the Tyler Algier range. But if Tyler Algier's on your roster, it just means things have gone wrong. And so you're sitting there like, So, yes, do I think he could be, a close your eyes and squint and pray usable flex this week? I do against Carolina Panthers because I do think he probably gets 10 to 12 touches in a good matchup.
Yep. Patterson's ranked.
They got Caleb Huntley there as well, but it does feel like there's a clear sort of pecking order, that it's Patterson, Algier, and then Huntley.
That's a fact.
Right? So, again, it's a run-heavy offense that has, despite, all evidence to the contrary, they have been able to effectively run the ball.
Yeah.
Give the Falcons credit where credit is due. They've been able to effectively run the ball. They use multiple running backs. It's a good matchup. The game's in Carolina, so I think they're going to want to, run even more. Yes, I think Tyler Algier, I'm keeping it open with this caveat. If you've been starting Tyler Algier, if your season has gone that poorly, right, that you have to start Tyler Algier like I do in our 14-team show league where my team has just been decimated by injuries, then yes,
I'll be
not over Swift. Come on, Lawrence. Let's stop. Let's not be crazy. I'm not that drunk. But that's what I'm saying. It's do I think he could be usable this week? I do.
Yep. I had a friend in
He was usable last week. I think he'll be usable again.
Yep. I had a friend in a WhatsApp group thread refer to Cordero Patterson last night as Cord Pat. I don't think we need Cordero Patterson on the show to say that nickname is not approved.
Cancel that.
CPAT.
Yeah, CPAT is the one. All right,
you were on your group chat on WhatsApp. Is this some Australian friend?
Yeah, it was a group of Australian men.
A group of Australian men.
Yeah. We talk about lots of stuff in the thread. We talk about your movies set in Los Angeles.
Okay, great.
We
Fantastic.
talk about a lot of Hugh Jackman chat.
I'm sure. A lot of Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, a lot of Keanu Reeves. Yeah, honorary Australian Keanu Reeves.
Core came up.
Yeah, best places to get Vegemite. Just everyone trying at different Vegemite sandwiches.
No, get rolling
exactly. Kangaroo sightings.
Yeah,
you guys just roasted.
Yeah.
No, totally. Hey, when's the new Men at Work tour coming?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
can we Photoshop Keanu Reeves on a kangaroo?
Yep,
yeah, it'll make our day.
Fantastic.
All right, let's stay on Thursday Night Football.
Why not?
Go to Deonta Foreman, who after lighting the world on fire the couple of weeks prior, came back down to earth against the Cincinnati Bengals.
This is going to be the worst, like Falcons-Panthers. Is this going to be? I mean, like we've had a couple of brutal Thursday night games, right?
The definition of Thursday
night. We had the Commanders-Bears game. We had that Broncos-Colts game, both of which were like literally like Clockwork Orange. Like you had to keep your eyes open, that kind of stuff. Do we think this rivals that game?
Well, do they repeat what they did a couple weeks ago? Because then in that case, that game was fantastic.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah, well, exactly. With DJ Moore,
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe the best game of the season.
Lawrence, as a Falcons fan, do you think you guys deserve to win that game? This is the DJ Moore pulls off his helmet.
We did, because they missed 2 field goals. Make the damn kicks.
Yes.
That's 2 times.
The fact
Make
that
them kicks.
Pinheiro missed the second kick
That's true.
well from like 30 yards. I think the Falcons deserved.
I watched Super Bowl 51. Falcons deserve to win anything.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
I think to your point, Matthew, I think that Thursday Night Football, it used to be the definitional game was like one of the bad matchups in the AFC South, like Jags, Titans, when the Titans were bad, but now I think that has been passed on to the NFC South. So this is the game, Falcons against the Panthers, and Deonta Foreman, are you keeping it open or closing it down?
The thing about the Falcons actually have a pretty good run defense. They're the 5th best run defense over the last month as well. And
Still got to start him, though, don't you?
Yeah, I mean,
Chuba Hubbard's probably going to play.
Chuba Hubbard's going to play. He's the better pass catcher. He was actually out snapping for him before he got hurt in the game that they played together, the first game without Christian McCaffrey here. Prior to last week, though, over 17 touches and over 110 yards from scrimmage in back-to-back games. Then last week, everything went wrong for the Panthers. The game's at home against the Falcons. Falcons have just been a bad scoring defense, even though they've been good against the run. I'm going to keep it open on Deonta Foreman, begrudgingly so.
Lawrence?
I was thinking about this.
I think he has a chance to get into the end zone. That's what I would say. Yeah. Like, if you're telling me a running back scores a touchdown in this game and we think that's likely, I'm going to say it's going to be Deonta Foreman.
And you still like him more than Chuba Hubbard, just in general. Yep.
You don't think he'd go for 100 on him? 100 yards?
I mean, anything's possible. Like, he's a talented guy. Like, he's got some. I don't know. It's an easy comparison because he played for the Titans last year, but he has some Derrick Henry in him, which is just like it's 2 yards, 3 yards, 50. You know what I mean? Like, it's just that's what you have to do with Deonta Foreman. You just keep pounding him in the line, and one of those he's going to just bust through. And the blocking's going to be there because he has that ability in him. And so that's what you're sort of counting on with Deonta Foreman. So
yep, he's plus 120 anytime touchdown scorer on BetMGM. They've set him at 57.5 rushing yards. So they would probably say to start him, but there is some uncertainty with
57.
Chuba Hubbard.
So when I saw this, I was thinking about Chuba Hubbard coming back, and I'm looking, of obviously 7 carries the last game script got out of hand, but the prior 2 games, 26 and 16 and 15 carries. Now, Chuba Hubbard comes back, so you don't really expect Deonta Foreman to get 26 carries, but he was too good against the Falcons in that game to just I got to still believe in him. And the Falcons, they've been playing good run defense, but they are notorious for finding any type of way to lose. You know what? They should have lost that game.
Well, coming up, the word is warm.
They should have, and I think they might get back in this game on the back of Foreman, so I'm leaving it open.
Okay, right, mercilessly, let's stay with that game for one more player.
We love Lawrence, and we love you here for the entire show, but you're really here for this one question.
Kyle Pitts, open or shut?
Listen, I'm not a big air yards guy, right?
But
to see that last week.
Who's an air yards guy?
To see, I see everybody.
Pat Crane's a big air yards guy.
He's a big air yards guy. Shout out to Pat Crane. I'm seeing everybody on Twitter talk about 200 air yards for Kyle Pitts. I had to watch this. I had to see those 3 overthrows, just in my head. It's like when you lose a bet. All I'm thinking about is 5 catches, 185 yards, and 3 damn touchdowns. And he didn't get it. No. So you know what? Deonta Foreman had his best game of the season against the Falcons. Kyle Pitts had his best game against the Panthers. I'm going to run it back for this particular matchup. I'm going to run it back. Make the throw, Mariota. Just make the throw, dog.
I'm going to keep it open as well. Look, I'm at tight end 11, so it's certainly significantly lower than where we drafted him and everything like that.
Yeah.
So but I'm still as a borderline tight end 1. Last time he played the Carolina Panthers just a couple of weeks ago, right? 5 for 80 and a touchdown on 9 targets. He was tight end 3 that week. This is a Carolina Panthers defense that since week 6 is bottom 8 in both pass defense and scoring defense. And so, yeah, just given the, like, they're going to have to move the ball somehow. And the expectation here is that you prefer Kyle Pitts to Drake London. So I'm going to begrudgingly keep it open on Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, that's a good word, begrudgingly. Perfect word.
Yep. All right, let's go to break. When we come back, mid-season fantasy awards. We're finally going to hand out some hardware to the great Jonathan Taylor, who's going to win an award, but it's not one you want.
Probably.
Uh-oh.
If you go to Gettysburg, there's a whole exhibit.
Oh,
I'm just telling you, if you go there, there's or Williamsburg, a lot of times.
A lot of burgs.
Pick a burg. I'm just telling you, when you go to these burgs and you see what people fought in the Civil War for, it literally was for the pursuit of life, liberty, and to do one game parlay.
All right. There you go, Matthew. An incredible speech that uplifted, I'm sure, at least 4 to 7 people to go and vote who otherwise wouldn't have yesterday.
1,000%.
Big voting day.
Yeah, I've been interviewed with all the political channels, getting my reaction to all the election news.
Yeah,
crazy.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
keeping
listen,
with the theme.
we await the results of elections in many races throughout the country, but one election has been settled, and that is our midseason fantasy awards. The happy hours.
This is the one that America has really been waiting for.
1,000%.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I couldn't vote in those elections yesterday because I'm an Australian, but I could vote in this.
What's a good name for the award? Is it the happy hours, the happies? They want
happies.
the happies, the peacockies?
No, that's bad. That's real bad.
Don't go peacockies.
Yeah, don't go peacockies.
I kind of like the peacockies.
No, I think it's the happies. I think it's got to be the happies. Let's start off.
Peacocky goes to? Come on.
Peacocky goes. No, we can't do that. We absolutely
why
cannot
can't we
do that.
Explain to me why we can't do that.
It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work, Matthew.
Break it down.
No,
it makes me chuckle every time.
Right, exactly. You see right there. We are on Peacock.
The NBCs.
Exactly. There's a proud Peacock.
Yeah.
My fantasy team. One of my fantasy teams is called the Proud Peacocks.
All right. We absolutely have to move on to this first award, the fantasy
I feel
MVP.
Like my old show, I used to have puppets.
Yeah.
What if could we get somebody in a peacock costume? Peacocky the Peacock?
All right. Yeah, we could do that, Matthew.
All right.
But first, let's talk fantasy MVP nominees.
Sure.
No surprises here. Josh Allen leading the league in points per game from a fantasy perspective. He's QB1. Austin Eckler, friend of the show, he's RB1. Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, and also Travis Kelce, who I feel like perennially is among these nominees had we done this in the past.
Yeah, and the interesting thing here is that fantasy MVP can be defined so many different ways. Like, is it the guy that's scoring the most points, right, Josh Allen? Yeah. Or is it the guy that's scoring the most points that was the best value, right? Mm-hmm. Because, Josh Allen was the number 1 quarterback picked in every single, but you think about Tyreek Hill, right, who was drafted, people were concerned, he's going from Mahomes to Tua. I was one of them. I think I had Tyreek Hill at wide receiver 8. He's still an elite talent.
Still not bad.
But it's not like he wasn't number 1 wide receiver in fantasy, which is, what he is. He's wide receiver 3 so far on a points per game basis. So lower, I had him lower than what he's turned out to be. He's been nothing short of fantastic.
Yeah. The thing with Tyreek as well is that he was banged up with that quad. So there's about 2 weeks there where you weren't at full strength, and he's still doing what he's doing. I was talking to a friend yesterday. I think Tyreek Hill is the best non-quarterback in the NFL right now, alongside Aaron Donald and Mike Evans.
He is on pace to break Calvin Johnson's single-season receiving yards record.
Yep, and he's going to.
Calvin Johnson.
He may not even need the extra game to do it as well because he's on that type.
And can you see it slowing down? You really can't.
I could see it speeding up because he had the quad. So I think that he is clearly the guy.
Right, and then you've got obviously Kelce because the tight end scarcity as well. Diggs been fantastic. He's had 90 or more yards in 6 of 8 games so far this year. 7 receiving touchdowns, tied for the most. But the winner for me is friend of the podcast, friend of the show, Austin Eckler, right? He's not only the number 1 running back in fantasy, but he's almost 4 points per game better than the number 2 running back so far this season. 5 straight games with 20 or more fantasy points. He's on pace for 127 receptions, which would be an NFL record for a running back. He also came on our show.
Yeah, I was going to say, did he win the award because he came on the show?
I'm not
I haven't seen Josh Allen on the happy
I want to be
hour.
very clear about this. A lot of people are like about integrity in elections. I can be bought. I can absolutely be. I'm just putting that out there. I can be bought. There's no integrity here.
No.
1,000% not. But the other thing is just in a year in which so many big name running backs have disappointed.
Yes.
We'll talk about some of them coming up. To me, as great as Hill and Diggs have been, there's been production at other positions as well. Same at quarterback. For me, Eckler, that's why I chose Eckler.
Yep, and Eckler, he was your ride or die last season, and here is Austin Eckler talking about how that was the sole reason that he is where he is today.
Austin, you were Matthew Berry's ride or die last season. Number one, were you aware of that? And two, did it play a part of your RB3 finish last season and RB1 overall performance this season? That's a big title.
I'm sure I saw it a few times. There's a lot of people that were, riding the train of Austin just because I was scoring touchdowns. And so, I appreciate all the love. That's why I do all these different shows for fantasy. That's why I give so much love back to the community. That's one of the reasons anyway. And so I appreciate it. Appreciate it, Matthew. And even this year, man, I've been feeling the support. That's why I gave you a follow. Now I follow the show. Now, I've been in your comment section a couple of times, commenting back to people that you mentioned when you've mentioned me and things like that. So I'm a fan as well.
Great victory speech from Austin Eckler, a lot better than Will Smith's at the Oscars last year.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, good job by Austin Eckler.
Maybe not the hero we wanted, but the hero we need.
Yes,
That's Austin
absolutely.
Eckler.
Yeah, I think you used that line 2 days in a row. I like it.
I'm gonna
Wonder
use it
who it'll be tomorrow as well.
Yeah, tomorrow.
It'll be Kyle Pitts.
Yep,
All right, let's
maybe.
jump to the next award, which is Best Value Pick. As we look at the nominees, headlined by Tua Tagovailoa, who's been QB6, wasn't one of the top 10 quarterbacks drafted. Josh Jacobs, the much maligned Josh Jacobs, slowed down a little bit lately, but he has vastly exceeded expectations. Ramondre Stevenson, who we talked about a lot preseason. Alan Lazard, who sneakily in that offense in Green Bay has been producing. And then Tyler Lockett, who I think everyone thought was going to fall back with Geno Smith. Turns out he's only upgraded at quarterback.
The truth is any Seahawk you could put on that list, in terms of Geno Smith and teams of DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett as well, who's
Ken Walker.
1,000%. Like, just no one thought the Seahawks offense was going to be what they've been. Well, yeah, maybe not him, but right. I mean, on the season he's wide receiver 18. He had a preseason ADP of wide receiver 42 when you mentioned Tyler Lockett, and on a points per game basis, Alan Lazard is wide receiver 14.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, that's a guy who was going as wide receiver 39, right? I mean, for as bad as the Packers' offense have been, and has been awful, Alan Lazard continues to produce. He keeps scoring touchdowns. He's scored in every game this year that he's played except for 2.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Lawrence, let's talk about Tua Tagovailoa. I know you were kind of a Tua stan preseason, but has he exceeded even your expectations?
I love me some Tua.
I know. That's why I set you up for it.
Love him, right? Yeah, so all these guys on Dolphins offense, Tyreek, Tua, they all exceeded expectations. I said, hey, he could play. Hey, I got him at quarterback 9, but this offense is automatic. So it's definitely he's definitely deserving to be in this group here of best value picks.
There's no question he's the 5th best quarterback the 6th best quarterback on a points per game basis so far this year. He went as quarterback 22. Tremendous value, but obviously there's a lot of depth at quarterback. There's been a lot of value at quarterback this year. Josh Jacobs deserves a mention here. This is a guy that I didn't like coming into the preseason. I wasn't alone, neither did the Raiders. They refused to pick up his 5th-year option. Yes. It feels like everyone hated Josh Jacobs. I've hated him for a number of years. I've been right for a number of years. This year I was dead wrong on Josh Jacobs, who, even though he slowed down a little bit, is still the 7th best running back on a points per game basis so far this year. He was going as running back 23. Most people had him as kind of I've run out, I've got to get a running back. I went early on wide receivers and tight ends. Okay, fine, I'll take Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
No one went into the draft targeting Josh Jacobs. You rostered him because you had to.
Yep.
Because you're like, all right, well, he qualifies at running back. He'll probably get some run. And he's been a revelation here. But none of those guys, as great as they all are, is the winner. The winner It's Ramondre Stevenson.
Yes.
Everyone knows.
Yeah, the quintessential RB0 guy preseason, and now he's just Damian Harris getting hurt and being banged up as help, but even before that he was providing value, and now he's looking like certainly a top 10 running back the rest of the way.
He's been the sixth best running back in fantasy since week number 3. He's had 16 or more fantasy points now in 6 of the last 7 games. He's running back 9 now on the season on a points per game basis. They're on a bye this week, the Patriots are, but when he comes back, he'll continue to be a big part of an offense that has struggled to move the ball consistently this year, but the one thing that has been rock solid is Ramondre Stevenson. Yep. So he is the winner of the Peacocky.
Yes, all right, let's quickly move on and get negative and talk about the biggest busts, which are headlined by, spoiler alert, we know who's going to win this award. Actually, no, we don't. It's not the guy I thought. But Jonathan Taylor, who was taken number 1 overall. He has been RB24 on a points per game basis. He's not delivered, and it's not entirely been his fault, but he hasn't played that well either when he's been healthy. Najee Harris, who we talked about earlier in the show, he was taken as RB6. He's been RB28. DJ Moore, who experienced a little bit of renaissance, but still cost them that game, and came back down to earth last week against the Bengals. Allen Robinson, who is one of the poster boys for fantasy failures this year, unfortunately. Some signs of life lately. And then, of course, Kyle Pitts, who Lawrence Jackson knows all too well about. Matthew Berry.
Yeah, I mean, look, fantasy bust is not only about lack of production, but also, again, what it cost you on draft day to acquire that person. So, it's not only that Kyle Pitts has been bad, it's the fact that you took him at tight end 3. And that, on a points per game basis, he's tight end 16, right? You think about Najee Harris. I mean, he's running back 28, fine, but this is a guy that went at the end of the first round, right? You're not using a first-round pick on running back 28. Allen Robinson is wide receiver 61 on a points per game basis, and he was going, as a top 20 wide receiver here. Jonathan Taylor, Jonathan Taylor's had some moments and he's been hurt, but just the fact that he went number 1 overall in pretty much every draft, Lawrence, hurts. He's got to be in this mix as well.
Yeah, he's got to be in the mix, but man, that guy Kyle Pitts, who I was saying, get him in the 3rd round.
Right.
Tight end 1 this year. You can't be tight end 16 on a points per game basis. That's like being wide receiver 88.
Yeah.
So that's tough in its own right.
Yeah, well, I almost butchered it by doing the La La Land thing of reading out Jonathan Taylor as the winner, but Jonathan Taylor is not the winner, Matthew.
No,
Berry.
Kyle Pitts is the winner. I mean, DJ Moore's kind of resurrected his season a little bit last couple of games here, but I think it's Kyle Pitts just because of, when you are drafting a tight end that high, because of the scarcity of the position and because, there's most people are going running back or wide receiver there, it's not only that you drafted him as a 3rd rounder, but because you bypassed other positions. He killed you in 2 different ways. You could have gotten this production, from a tight end much later. And so that's when you draft a tight end that high, you have to nail that tight end.
Yes, sir.
That pick really has to come through for you. And this is a guy that's had under 30 receiving yards in 6 of 8 games, right? He's had 5 different games with 5 or fewer fantasy points, 5 different weeks where he's just absolutely murdered you. Here's some of the guys that are averaging more fantasy points per game, just to talk about, Tyler Conklin, Hayden Hurst, Bob Tunyon, Evan Ingram.
Oh, no.
Right. I mean, none of these guys were drafted among the top 15 tight ends, all of them averaging more fantasy points per game than Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I completely disagree with this. To me, this is choosing Crash over Brokeback Mountain for Best Picture. I think Jonathan Taylor should be the winner here, but that's okay. We can disagree on the Peacockies. Let's go to top waiver wire pickup nominees. Headlined by the immortal Justin Fields, top 5 quarterback going forward, arguably, certainly top 7. The great Geno Smith, the comeback player of the year. Favorite, Jamal Williams, who has thrived in the absence of DeAndre Swift and has kept the thrive going even with Swift back. Jacoby Myers, who doesn't get a lot of love, but is just keeps on producing. And then David Njoku, who's been injured, but when he's been healthy, has delivered well over expectations. Lawrence Jackson.
Yeah, so, you got a couple of quarterbacks here, and like we know quarterbacks, we could get those dime a dozen. But I like Geno Smith here. People weren't drafting Geno Smith. People were drafting like Justin Fields late, hoping that he would do what he's doing now, and now he's doing it. But Geno Smith has been doing it for pretty much the whole season. Justin Fields came along over the past month and has looked excellent. But Geno Smith looks good here. Jamal Williams is just a thief. And, David Njoku kind of got hurt, so that kind of pushed him back a little.
Jacoby Meyer's been much better than I think people expected here, but the winner is Justin Fields. Sorry, he's the winner of the Peacocky. I understand where your vote went.
Gotta stop it.
Lawrence, but the fact of the matter is that when you can find a QB1 on the waiver wire, which is what Justin Fields is since week 5, he's the third best quarterback in fantasy. He's now had 6 straight with 17 or more fantasy points. I'm his QB4 this week. He makes the love list once again. He's an elite fantasy quarterback.
Yes.
And when you think about the guys like Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady or Matthew Stafford, some of these guys that have just fallen off, how many big-name quarterbacks just haven't produced in big numbers? It's been a disappointing year for Dak Prescott. I mean, honestly, a lot of big-name quarterbacks have not produced in the kind of ways that Justin Fields has. So it's a controversial winner. There's no question. I understand.
I don't think it's controversial. I think that's a
I'm not mad at it. It's a new day, baby.
No, I'm hearing
Justin
reports.
Fields, let's go.
I hear reports that Lawrence is going to go to court. He's going to challenge the results.
It's Daniel Day-Lewis and there will be blood.
He's not accepting the results of this election.
Justin Fields is from Georgia. It's all good.
All right, let's close out with best performing rookie nominees. Headlined by Dameon Pierce, who has been RB14 on the season. Ken Walker surging, and I think is probably going to surpass Dameon Pierce by the end of the year. Cris Olave, who just keeps on cooking regardless of his quarterback. Garrett Wilson, who has shown signs of life with his brother Zach at quarterback. And George Pickens, who hasn't really delivered what we want, but has had his moments. And let's take a look at the MGM odds for Offensive Rookie of the Year, where Ken Walker, despite having a bit of a yards deficit to Dameon Pierce, he is surging on a Seattle team, which I think is the best story in the NFL this year. He's the even money favorite for that award.
How can you say that's the best story in the NFL this year when you've got a guy who was shot multiple times on that list?
Yeah. But he's not RB5, though.
Yeah,
this is true. This is true.
But
he was shot.
Yes, that's true. Brian Robinson is the best story.
Do you understand? I got a hangnail this morning and almost didn't make it in. He was shot. And he's playing professional footable, Lawrence.
Shout out to
Brian Robinson. He should be the comeback player of the year.
I stubbed my toe and I'm done for a week. I mean, do you understand?
Yep. No, I'm with you there. So the winner is...
Who gets the Peacocky goes to?
The Peacocky goes to Ken Walker of the Seattle Seahawks.
KW3.
The second best story in the NFL this year. And this, I think, is more of a projecting forward what he's going to do. He is the closer. That's the nickname I've coined for Ken Walker. I'm not sure if he likes it as much as Ray most that like. 6 of his 7 touchdowns have come in the fourth quarter. He is the closer. He's Mariano Rivera.
He's
Mariano Walker.
Yeah, Ken Walker, league winner is his official name. And by the way, just thinking about the totality of this category, Dameon Pierce, Cris Olave, Garrett Wilson, George Pickens, much more rookie fantasy production than I think we've seen. By the way, if he hadn't gotten hurt, Breece Hall is in this conversation in a massive way as well. So just an incredible rookie class that KW3 and the Seahawks, who we love, are a big...
The music is kicking Matthew Berry off the Oscars.
We're
going to break. When we come back, Sunday Night 7 contest, predictions for Chargers Niners.
They're playing me off the stage.
The NFL season is here, and the NBC Sports Predictor app is giving you a shot at winning $100,000 by entering Sunday Night 7's free contest between the Chargers and the 49ers. So if you don't have the NBC Sports Predictor app, go download it now. It is free. All right, Sunday Night 7 contest. Let's go. I'm going to start with Justin Herbert's passing yards. Can take his bands anywhere from sub 240 yards to over 330 yards. Always like taking either the smallest or largest band just because you get the wider range of outcomes. I'm going to go with 330 plus for Justin Herbert. He looks healthy, looked right again against Atlanta off the bye with the rib injury seemingly fully healed. I think they're going to be down probably and throwing a lot. So give me that juicy 330 plus. Matthew Berry, what are you doing with Jimmy Garoppolo's passing yards?
That's a good question. What am I doing with Jimmy Garoppolo's passing
You're not matching
yards?
my energy here.
Yeah, I mean, well, because you got Justin Herbert. I got Jimmy Garoppolo.
I got better hair.
Yeah, that's not fair at all. You know what? Listen, he's had 4 straight games with multiple touchdown passes. Had 250 passing yards in 3 or 4 of those games here. Playing the Chargers, Chargers actually have a pretty good defense. I'm going to take the 220 to 239 band right there for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Quickly, streaming option this week, Jimmy G, viable?
Yes, I do think so.
Okay.
I do think so. I'm at QB 14.
Line is 7. San Francisco favorite at home. Do they cover?
San Francisco covers. Chargers are fugazi.
There you go. Chris McCaffrey on prime time.
Yes, sir.
By the way, I would just like to,
peacockies.
Pops, if you're listening, when we make the peacockies, I want them to be gold-plated peacocks, but holding like a beer or something like that, so they're kind of drunk, like they're like drunk. They're like drunk peacockies. So that would be the name of the award, the drunk peacockies.
You've lost it, Barry. You've
lost it. And the drunk peacocky goes
completely lost it. It's only Wednesday and you're done.
Listen, for Lawrence Jackson and Jay Croucher, I'm Matthew Berry. Thanks for tuning in to the Happy Hour. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. We're back tomorrow. Peace out. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and RotoWorld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from RotoWorld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.